turning back.
Welcome back to the Lost Boy Scouts podcast. A little bit different setup, a little bit different studio.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Oh, it's been a ton of work.
You have done a good job, dude.
I've got a little bit of a cold going on, so I apologize if you're picking this up that I may wheeze or I may.
Yeah.
But I've literally been working.
And I've got a little bit of a canker sore from getting clicked in the mouth yesterday. And so if I'm like doing this, it's probably because like I've got a little bit of an OCD-ness, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully you guys can hear us all. We're in the new studio, new digs.
Yeah. Different setup.
Different setup.
A little bit fresher space.
It looks good, dude.
Yeah.
It's warm. We don't have to worry about the people hauling ass 100 miles an hour past your window.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good, man.
The biggest thing is the buzzing of the power lines. They're gone.
Yeah.
You probably didn't notice in post editing, but like editing, I lived so close to the power lines that the
right on top of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you had a big thing going on, huh? So
yeah.
Man, you've had a big change.
Whew, man. So yeah, when I got home from my dealing with my brother, well, the week before my whole ordeal with my brother, I was down in St. George attending a work function, and I got home and had to go to my side hustle at the ice rink.
Right.
And my basement had some water in it. And I didn't really think too much of it. Like I'd thrown some laundry in real quick and I was like, oh, maybe just the washing machine or dishwasher did something. And then all the stuff happened with my brother, and I was gone for like a week and a half. And I called the landlord. I said, hey, there was water. Can you send somebody to check it out? And their response was, well, is there anyone there that can look at it for us?
Oh, no. This is insane.
And so, of course, just so happened that Bryn, my daughter, was coming home from school. And I said, hey, if you get home and see water, will you just let me know? And she's like, yeah, there's water all the way into my room.
All over the place. I remember you telling me, like, you calling me like, dude, my basement is flooded.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because, like, when you're a homeowner, you kind of know what to do and you can take some actions. You can start to like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to get going on. I need to pull the carpet back. I need to make sure that I get everything start drying right away.
Yep.
But when you're a renter, you're kind of like at the mercy of the people, right?
Yeah. I mean, I certainly treated that house like I owned it, although I didn't own it. So like I didn't stop using the washing machine. I didn't stop using the disposal. I'm like, I got to get life done.
Gotta keep going.
I got to keep going. And you know, if they're not going to pay attention to it, I'm just going to keep calling and asking about it. It took about another 3-4 weeks for them to come up and finally look at it. And it turns out I actually caught it that the drain line for the washing machine was backing up, and all the water was backing up out of the drain line.
Wow.
And I was discussing it with some coworkers, and they were like, you know, that's like sewer water, right? And I'm like,
man. And like, so Ben and Bryn stay downstairs, and probably Cozy goes down there a lot because you had your projector down there and you had your stuff down there.
The family area,
Oh my God. Dude, it was insane. When you know, to kind of like fast forward a little bit, when you told me what exactly was going on and then sent me pictures, I was like, what in the world?
I caught a whiff of something smelly, and I was like, you know, it's not that bad, but it's not that, you know, it's tolerable. And it took them 50 plus days to finally address it. When they finally pulled out the flooring,
Dude,
my neighbor came over and was like, did somebody die in your basement? Because there is a smell. And it was, there was mold growing from the laundry room all the way under the brand new flooring. The landlord, or the landlord company, the rental company that was managing it, wasn't connected with the owner. I finally got connected with the owner, and the owner was like super apologetic. Cost them close to $45,000 worth of damage because of the negligence of the leasing company.
Oh my God.
Just not coming to look at it.
Yeah.
And this was a 100-year-old home.
Yeah.
It was like one of Heber's oldest properties. So.
Well, and so like Tyler sends me videos. He's like, dude, this is, because I was like, hey man, what's going on? Like we hadn't been able to connect very much. I had gone out of town.
Yeah.
We just hadn't been able to connect because you were like, dude, I'm dealing with this crazy shit, right?
Yeah.
Sends me this video, and he's like, this is what I'm living in right now. All of his shit in a storage bin, because they gave him a storage bin to load it, right?
Yep.
Then every, like, you know, when you look at your house and your drywall, about this high is cut all the way around, which is exactly what I would have thought as a homeowner, like cut the drywall and stop the water from going up, right?
Yeah.
and he's living in these conditions. Like he's like, dude, my house is a mess. All my shit is upstairs. I'm in shambles, and I'm thinking, man, this has got to be the worst possible thing that could happen. Luckily, right, your kids were out of town for a little while.
Yeah, my kids were gone on spring break with their mother.
Yeah.
And I kind of had an inkling that, like, hey, maybe it's time to move on from this house.
Yeah.
Like, I really liked it. It was such a good location. And they did. For those on the podcast just listening, it was about waist high, so about 3.5, 4 feet high that they cut of the drywall.
Insane.
To get it all dried out. And like I said, they had mold growing, you know, in the floor, underneath the floor that they put in. They put that flooring in while I was there.
While you were there. Yeah, they're like, hey man, just throw your shit in this storage bin, and we'll come about it whenever we get to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so luckily, you know, you had put in for, like you said, you were like, hey, I'm gonna maybe it's time to move on, save some money, and you know, get some downsize a little bit, get to a different place for the kids, and find a different area. I mean, Heber, if you're not from Utah, is insane growth right now. Dude, it is like what they're doing on this mountainside is insane, right?
Yeah.
And so like there are options for you to do. You don't have to live in that. It was a cool spot. And centrally located. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little selfish today driving over like this sucks. I could just get out of I could really walk to your house before.
We were like 2 miles apart. Now we're
easily have a couple beers and not think anything about it. Today I was like, well, I have to drive 40 on the way over, like take all the back roads to get to my house. Selfish. It was selfish of me. But when you told me the story about the landlady, like having zero clue. Yeah. No clue that this is even going on. Yeah. And her like how she felt. Yeah. Like you could feel for her. Like,
oh, she started sobbing on the phone. She was like, I'm so sorry. Like you guys could have gotten really sick. And I'm like, here I am dealing with a cold now. And I'm like, I don't know if it was like just the stress of like a solid week of moving by myself. I hired some movers, but you know, I had to pack all the stuff up. I had to get out because I was breaking the lease. It pushed the speed of the move up.
You had to go.
I had to go, in order to like prove that the house was unlivable.
Unlivable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were like, I mean, once you make the commitment, it's like go time, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, like sometimes all of that weight falls down on you. Right? Oh yeah. And not that you're like, this sucks, but you're probably like, this fucking sucks. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like I'm kind of grumpy. Nobody's here to help me. This would be a lot easier if people were to help me and pack, unpack, put away, just make my life a little bit easier,
yeah.
Right?
No, and I had some great help. My dad and his wife came up.
Oh, they did?
I had my nephews here.
Oh, good.
You know, it wasn't the funnest trip for them, but you know, we had some fun. We ate some fun. I fed them well.
Oh, good.
While they were here, we had lots of ice cream, and you know, yes, we did have to move, but all in all, we gave us the opportunity to change up the studio a little bit. We're going to be doing some fun things, hopefully having some more guests in.
Yeah, man, the setup is awesome. Yeah, you did a good job. I think this is probably like a good spot for you guys. And yeah, I mean, it sucks because it's kind of far away from school, and you have to carpool everywhere down now. There's probably no easy way to get anywhere now because you're like have to get on 40 and then head on 40.
Well, you mentioned the back roads, and you're right. Like 40 is the quickest when there's no traffic, but making that turn out onto the highway is a nightmare. Yeah. The back roads would be perfect, except for they're replacing all the sewer lines in the city. So like all the east or north-south roads are blocked off.
Closed. My when I leave for work in the morning, I usually like go to a turn and like go down the road to the stop sign, turn right. And sometimes I'm like early in the morning, I forget that halfway down, it's closed. And then I'm like, well, now I have to find my way out of this way. And I'm like creature of habit, right? Yeah. And, man, like it is crazy when you're put into this, like this chaos and turmoil of having to, uproot not only your life, but you know, your kids' life, and not that you uproot them and your kids are kind of durable, you know, but they've already had like a bunch of shit going on, the divorce, and then you know, Nick's passing, and how they know that affects you in itself, right? And you just as the whole thing has to be like, when am I going to be able to take a breath?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's Theo Vaughn. He has this like, I saw a clip of it on social media somewhere. He's like, here's some more life. He just calls it life. He's like, it's got this funny way of like how life happens to you. Here's some more life.
Here's some more life.
And by the way, here's some more.
Yeah.
You just get finished chewing on that. And oh yeah, here's some more life.
It's
so
crazy.
Gotta be resilient. I think that's been kind of the focus of the last few months for me is like, how do I really build some durable resilience and make sure I'm not
that you're not resilient enough, because holy shit, man, like, dude, it's like fastball, curveball.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to swing anymore.
Yeah, but you gotta keep it. You have to keep swinging. You have to keep crowding the plate. You have to keep after it.
It's funny because we've talked about like how men in themselves, like that's the expectation, right?
Yeah.
The expectation is just to get up every morning, put a smile on, shave your beard, shit, shower, and shave, and head out on your day and not have to worry about emotions or feelings when like in all reality, like we all have emotions and feelings.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I know, like we've talked about it before, we haven't been able to spend that much time with each other in the last couple of weeks because one, like I knew you're busy as shit and like, what can I do? I mean, like I'll come over and just us two over here. Like, I know for a fact that I'm not the best at that. So I like was like, hey man, do you want some help? Knowing that it's like, well, I'll help. But I know I have Misty.
Yeah.
You know, she would tell me, get out of the way.
Yeah.
You're messing this up. Like, which I would, because I'd be like, wandering around looking, hey, should I put this there? Right here? Like, this looks like where you should go. And then you're walking behind me, moving everything that I've just moved. Right.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting, like to think about that kind of stuff that you're just supposed to go about your day. No emotions and no support, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because you do have support.
Oh, yeah.
But do you?
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, what do I really need? And what lessons do I need to learn from this, right? Like, I mean, it's easy to say that, like, oh, yeah, poor me. I don't have anyone. Like, there's no one. Like, yes, I do want somebody special in my life to share the burden. But at the same time, like, I'm going to own it. Even if I did have a partner, you know, I'd hired the movers either way. They lifted the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Like carrying my mattress. We both have that Tempur-Pedic.
Oh
it's
my
like,
gosh, I ain't carrying that. No way, dude.
No, it's like hauling like two dead bodies. Like you don't want
like moves all over the place.
Yeah, it's like there's no rigidity to it. It's like heavy and awkward. So like,
did they move everything downstairs too? Like, did they move everything in the heavy stuff into what you needed to, and then into the
yeah. So I just put it on Facebook Marketplace or Ask Keeber. I just said, hey, I have these are the items I need moved. My bed, and I just basically said this is what I need, and they said, cool. We'll do 4 hours for basically $100 an hour or something like that. And I was like, cool. And so I gave them the items, and they moved them all in. You know, they even drove the U-Haul over as I was packing up like the last little bit of stuff. And,
really?
You know, they moved everything. I mean, there was a big benefit that when they hired the disaster restoration company cleared like everything out of the basement.
Oh, wow.
And just boxed it. I mean, granted, I'm still opening boxes looking for stuff, but because they just throw it in boxes, they don't care.
Don't care.
But you know, it could not have turned out better or easier for like
for the moving.
Yeah, moving.
Yeah.
So
do you feel some sort of like sense of normalcy starting to settle in? Bryn came back, so that's kind of like got to throw a little bit of like a wrench in things. Not like wrench, like Bryn coming back is bad, but like she's coming back from college, so now you have all 3 kids in the house. Just 2, where the last year you've had just 2.
Yeah. I mean, it's the new normal of summer, right? It'll be interesting, and I think that's one of the reasons I chose to rent a little smaller place. Is I want to get out, I want to travel, I want to, you know, use the rooftop tent on the Bronco, and you know, so this hopefully will, while it's a cool spot, we get a great view of Temp. You know, hopefully we will feel like, oh, hey, we're a little crowded here. Let's go stretch our legs and like get outside. And, there's some great concerts coming up, like here in Salt Lake, and you know, Utah's a great place to get outside and go camp.
For sure. So, yeah, Utah's great. Utah has a good mix. Right now, it sucks right now.
Oh, this bipolar spring is unbelievable.
My drive this morning, dude,
was
insane. was insane. I mean, like it was snowing like winter storm.
Yeah.
Like not a spring storm, but it was a winter storm.
Yeah.
And everybody was driving like they had forgotten already how to drive, and the semis especially. So it was traction devices only down Parley's.
Oh, geez.
And I can assure you, those trucks were like, yeah, I'm going. And it was windy, so like they were moving all over the place. And so a bunch of times, like I seen a truck go from one side of the road to the other side of the road, and I was like, man, this is insane. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Took me an hour and like 45 minutes to get to work this time. I don't know, in May.
Yeah.
Or May 7th today, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm over it. You know,
hear
the summer, once the summer starts to pick up, right? Like everybody starts to go outside and everybody starts to stretch and everybody starts to like dust that winter coat off. And, Saturday, Misty and I started to do some yard work and stuff, but we got a late start because I kind of slept in, and then we had breakfast and we watched a couple of episodes of the show that we're watching. And she's like, hey, we got to go outside. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be fine. It's supposed to be 75 today.
Yeah.
But by the time we went outside, the clouds had moved in, and she's like, we missed everything. And Sunday it was cold and snowing. And we were like, oh my gosh, I'm ready for something different.
Yeah.
I just want something different.
Yeah.
And the warmth to come on. And
oh, I hear you. Keep I want to get the motorcycle out. I can get it out a little bit, and then the snow comes back. It's
insane.
Enough.
Yeah. So that was a good recap, man. I mean, I think right now we'll probably be able to hit the ground running and record like we wanted to.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on the B-side?
Man, it's one that obviously I posted in the middle of the move. Danny, you thought that there was a video out there?
I thought so.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm struggling with a couple of technical issues right now with the studio setup, and I pulled that one down. Having listened to it now a couple of times, I'm like, it just is what it is. Like,
it is what it is. I remember the night. So I remember the night vividly.
Yeah.
And I remember just the backstory. I don't want to get too far into the backstory because it's kind of like it's so far behind, and there's really no reason to kind of rehash it. But I had gotten some news that I had shared with you that I knew that I had to.
Yeah.
Right? We are really good friends.
Yeah.
I am not going to find out news and not first thing, whether it's about you or not, first thing call you and be like, I got some gossip.
Yeah.
And it was gossip, and it was hard for me because I knew that it was like, all right, I got to tell you this information that I got. I couldn't hold on to it any longer because it was already messing with my head already. And about halfway through, I realized, whoop, put the beer down, Danny, because it's not your night tonight. I was like, dude, this is going to go one of two ways.
Yeah.
And if we both go this way, it could get pretty, not fun for both of us.
Yeah.
And I knew, that you needed me to be a really good friend and kind of be a good, sober friend.
Yeah, I don't want to give too, obviously, I knew that there was going to be some the divorce was painful, right? Specifically because the divorce wasn't 100% my choice. Now, my spouse and I were married very young.
Right.
She was 19, I was 21. We followed a particular pattern. But coming from a broken home, I knew I never wanted to subject my children to a broken home.
Sure.
There was a lot of trauma going on and a lot of patterns that were playing out, a lot of work that's been done. But I knew the second hardest point to the actual physical divorce was finding out that there was somebody else in her life.
Right.
And so that is exactly what we found out. And I don't want to go too much into it. One, because I want to protect her story, her peace.
Sure.
And her partner's peace. But yeah, how I processed that
as the night moved on. And the alcohol flowed.
Yeah, it probably was not the healthiest, but at the same time,
it's who we are. It's who we are. It's who we are. We don't hide anything. And for one, we're not going to hide from our audience who we are. We are compassionate men with emotions.
Yes, without a doubt,
that need each other, like to be there for each other, right? And to always be like, hey man, I got you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of like when I listen to it, that's what I remember is like I could hear when I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. this is what's going to happen. And I actually thought there was some really, really cool information that we shared in that moment.
Yeah, I think I was seriously honest. You know, you start, and I mean at this point, we'll just call it what it is. It was self-medicating.
Sure.
Right. I was self-medicating with alcohol, and you know, you break down some of those walls. And I'm the type of person when I drink, I don't get belligerent. I get happy.
Sure.
I want to chat. I want to talk. I'll talk your ear off. Right. Like I'm probably the worst kind of the drunk, like where I'll just sit there and talk. We could have talked on that episode for hours, and probably would have been fine. But you know, you could tell as I started slurring, as my language got more profane, that you know, definitely that medication, you know, was self-medicating a lot. So
yeah, just for our, you know, for our own to come full circle in this thing, like we're not the kind of men who do that kind of self-medication on a regular basis. But we know of men who are stuck in that rut of self-medicating, and they don't know how to, like, all right, I got it out of my system.
Yeah.
Now, not only am I not going to do it tomorrow, but I'm not going to do it for a while, because I need to feel these emotions and not run away from them.
Absolutely.
And I know that's how you are.
Absolutely. And I would agree. That episode is not a little under a year old.
Yeah.
A little under a year old when we originally recorded it. You know, it was a different part of my journey. I've been in and out of my own relationships at this point. Like,
so much has happened since then.
Yeah. I'm so much smarter. I'm so much wiser. I'm I don't know that I'd have the same response. It is still painful, but at the same time, there's a lot that goes into those relationships, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it more painful than being in the wrong relationship?
Right.
Being the only person that puts in effort? Like, the relationship started to really die when I stopped putting in effort.
Right.
Right. And that's what made it easy for her to go out and find somebody else. I saw that I was the only one putting in effort, and I stopped putting in effort.
Yeah.
And it died. It was that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, you know, honestly, like one thing I wanted to say was to always be to be thankful for you being willing to share. It was a rough night.
Yeah.
As soon as we talked about it, it was a rough go. But you said, "Hey, man, we're going to podcast."
Yeah.
I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know the direction it's going to go. But we're going to podcast. We ended up spending, you know, way longer after the podcast talking and visiting and, like, you know, being, making sure that that we didn't go, that you didn't go anywhere further than what you needed to go down the path, right?
Yeah, I think absolutely right. And I think when I look at the nature of that relationship too, you know, so much of my story comes from being in this high demand religion, right? And I would say a founding principle of that relationship was it was founded on that high demand religion. Like, we didn't ask each other a lot of the questions you'd probably normally ask each other in a typical courtship, because we both came from the same ultra religious, high demand background, right? That we shared quote unquote these same standards. And when those standards eroded for us in, you know, early 2011, whenever we deconstructed that, so much of the foundation of our relationship eroded with it, and we didn't backfill it. I didn't see, like, I saw this need to, like, okay, we've got to start backfilling it. Like, it's just like a house, right? If the foundation starts to erode, right, the house is eventually going to topple.
Sure.
And no matter what, and I don't want to say that I'm any saint, but I definitely felt as the last few years of the marriage, like we've got to backfill this. Like, there's there was a desire on my part to do some work, to see some therapists, but it takes two people to want to do that.
Sure.
And again, I don't want to go too much more into her side of the story, but I can just explain my perception, my side of it. And even still, I'm even hesitant to go there because I do want to protect her story. I want to protect her.
No, I agree.
Her, I don't want it to feel like, well, I was this great guy. I was like perfect and blah, 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 blah. And
no, I think you've said it correctly and like left some meat on the bone because, we're not quite ready there yet to like dive that far into what's going on. But, when we talk about the topic tonight, this leads us right into that topic of distractions, right? Prioritizing distractions and focusing on ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Focusing on ourselves.
Yeah.
And so why this is coming up is because, I get phone calls and I talk to people and some of the people that I'm helping, they're always like, well, I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to do this, but I have these distractions.
Mm-hmm.
I have this distraction. For me, my distractions when I was younger was I had a kid at an early age,
mm-hmm.
but I also knew that back in the day when we were younger, you went on a mission to the military or to college. If you're in Utah, most of your friends were either were going to go on a mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were all going to go on a mission.
Yeah.
My group of friends, we were going to go to the military. That was the priority. The priority was you're going to do that. Now you have distractions. Distractions would be, was I partying too hard?
Yeah.
Did I need to clean up my system before I went and did the military test? In the LDS church, man, there are a ton of distractions that could keep you from going on that mission. But for the most part, same thing. You would clean up your act for 6-7 weeks, go talk to, the recruiter, the bishop, however you want to do, make sure you were clean, and then you were good to go.
Yeah.
But as soon as you left, those distractions were still there.
Yeah.
And as we get older, distractions become bigger, right?
Yeah.
And how can you prioritize yourself, like myself over a distraction? Right.
Yeah.
In my own life, jiu-jitsu is a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
Right. I don't, if there's something else going on and jiu-jitsu it's my night to train, I go to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
If Misty's like, hey, I'd like to cook dinner, I'm like, I'm training tonight.
Yeah.
That's my priority.
Yeah.
I do not waver.
Yeah.
There's times when I waver from going to training, like tonight where I'd like to go to training. Tonight I would have liked to go to training, but I had already told Misty I was going to bring her dinner.
Yeah.
And we were going to record. And so I was like, okay, I'm okay not going to training tonight.
Yeah.
Right? But I have to prioritize. Where's my focus at?
Mm-hmm.
What happens with people, like when they call me, they're like, I want to go to class, but the class time doesn't work for my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go to open mat, but I can only stay for class because my wife expects me home after class.
Yeah.
Right. You have these things that take all these things. What's more important?
Yeah.
What's more important?
Yeah.
And you have to prioritize what's more important.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think sometimes I come off, or when I'm telling Tyler, hey, we're training tonight. Yeah, I have this going on. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're training tonight. And you're like, yeah, but I have this going on. And I think sometimes I come off as like, that's it.
Yeah.
We're going to training. You don't get to do anything else. Like that's what you said you were going to do, and I'm saying you, Tyler, but this happens with other people.
Sure.
And how can I prioritize what's more important at that moment?
Yeah, I think that's super interesting because I definitely, again, it comes back to like this feeling shame and guilt, right? Like the tools of a high demand religion, and some cultures are shame and guilt.
Yeah.
Right. And if you shame and guilt people into doing things, it's kind of a, it's on the spectrum of narcissistic things that kind of happen. When you shame and guilt people into doing things, it encodes in their nervous system as fear.
As fear.
Right.
And it's not fun.
Well, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I sure as hell, I don't want to let Danny down. Like, Danny's my friend and he won't like me anymore if I don't go. And like, I certainly feel that, but then I also have to say, okay, calm down. What's real? So I think it comes down to like, what are your priorities? Yeah. How do you prioritize? Right. When I talk about coming out of a high demand religion, right, we use guilt and shame as leaders of the church, guilt and shame to correct behavior. And so I think that distorts a lot of people's ability to actually pick values for themselves. Like, so what do you value?
Yeah.
Because if you don't value, I have a lot of people. I know a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm really into health. I'm really into fitness. And then they'll eat McDonald's,
yeah.
twice, 3 times a week, or fast food a couple times a week, or their diet is just completely garbage. Right. Well, then do you really value fitness if you're eating that way?
Right.
And I mean, there are ways to remove the guilt and shame. And I think there's ways that guilt and shame can kind of be a motivator for good. Yeah. Right.
Well, just let's say that you have, like, I'm this person who teaches breath work, who promotes healthy living.
Yeah.
But and on the backside, here I am, you see me at McDonald's eating a Big Mac, right?
Yeah.
Or I have an addiction to porn,
right?
The background, right?
Yeah,
Or I'm self-medicating with booze and distracting myself with like other negative things. It's going to come to the surface eventually, right? Things are going to come to the surface. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to keep that facade on for very long. So as I start to go, I'm having this conversation today with my friend because he was like, I need you to help hold me accountable to some things. And I'm like, it's kind of not my job to hold you accountable. Yeah. It's my job to give you like some encouragement, right? But as soon as I start saying to you, hey, jiu-jitsu class is at 11, and you say, well, but me and so-and-so are going to meet at 2 because that works better for me, then I'm thinking, okay, now you're being selfish because guess what? At 11, I need you at class.
Yeah.
The only way that I get better in jiu-jitsu, which is the craziest thing in the world, is if you show up to class.
Yeah.
If I'm just there with professor, yes, I get professor's attention, but I don't get to practice anything on a person who's actually going to give me a feel.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Kyle and I were talking about this the other day, is like on Sundays, not a lot of white belts show up.
Yeah.
So on Sundays, you don't get to practice techniques. It's kind of a training day.
Yeah.
You don't get to practice things because most of the time the white belts aren't showing up because they know that there's a bunch of upper belts there and they're probably going to have a rough day. Right?
Yeah.
But then I think to myself, okay, well, that's a distraction. That's a distraction. You could come there with the idea of, okay, I'm going to get my butt kicked, but it's part of the process. Yeah. And the guys that are there need me to be there.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how I think about that certain avenue, right? When men are like struggling with addictions and with distractions that are like, man, that's a distraction that could cause some damage in your life.
Yeah.
You do have to prioritize them and that time for them.
Yeah.
Because they need you in that moment.
Yeah.
Right. They need to be able to talk and tell you that in a safe place. Yeah. I started at Instagram. Before I knew it, I was on OnlyFans, and then I VPN'd right into Pornhub. And now I'm down this path.
Yeah.
And that's a distraction.
Yeah.
It gets in the way of your overall health and benefits of your life.
Absolutely. Our brain is addicted to patterns, right? Our brain thrives on patterns. We're constantly trying to figure out patterns, right? And those patterns, those synapses that are firing in our brain, they're carving pathways into the gray matter, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a bunch of science behind it. Like I'm oversimplifying it quite a bit, but that's why things like the power of atomic habit, that's why things like the 12-step program are super beneficial. It's line upon line,
right?
It's day after one day at a time. right? And you have to be kind enough to yourself to say, okay, yeah, maybe I screwed up. Great. Can I do it? Can I get back on the train?
Right.
It's when you find yourself that like it is becoming a problem. If it's following kind of a pattern of addiction, and then you do need to reach out for help.
Right.
But at some point, the catalyst to change is it all resides within you.
Agreed.
It all resides within you.
I agree with you.
Right? Like that's why they say that people that go to therapy, that are brought to therapy and couples therapy, if they don't want to be there, they're not successful.
Same thing with like rehabilitation.
Same thing with addicts, rehabilitation.
Yeah.
Same thing with, I would imagine, even jail.
Even jail.
Right? Like,
yeah, you're right.
You know, the guys that get thrown into jail, there's probably a lot of them that don't want to be there. They don't care to be there. They don't think they did anything wrong. Yeah. And so that pattern stays. Like, I don't know. I've never been to jail. Yeah. I've never been cuffed up. But
thankfully, when it only happened one time when I was a kid. But man, yeah, I would agree with you. I would say that you could put anything into the category of distraction.
Yeah,
anything could be in the category of distraction. And then it could be like, okay, now we're going down the path of good distraction, bad distraction.
Yeah.
And then each of those have that Venn diagram of like circles of like sometimes they mesh and mix and sometimes it's just its own little avenue and it sits out there on its own where you're like, okay, I got to address that distraction. For me, because of where I'm at in my life, right? I'm in this like weird opportunity of my life, or like man, I'm like a rarity. I'm 45 years old. Both my boys are over 20 years old. Mm-hmm. And my wife and I we have our patterns of like where we hang out with each other. And she doesn't say very much about like when I go to training.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm going to training that night, she's like going to training that night.
Yeah.
But if I'm, if I'm drinking too much, or if I'm not, when we're together, giving her attention, then it does become like, hey, I'm here still, right?
Yeah.
But that's where I think like self-reflection and self-understanding, where you're like, okay, I'm prioritizing these things, and I'm prioritizing the people that matter, the things that matter the most.
Yeah.
Right. Your kids, different stages of their life. You kind of have to be there for your kids right now. Plus, you only see them once every other week.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that this is the beauty of human relationships, though. Like the beauty of human relationships is they actually take the reflection that we would get, and if we allow it to, it can be a magnifying glass. People like to say it's a mirror. No, man, I think it's like a mirror. It's like one of those mirrors that's like has a zoom effect, right? Because Misty calling you out and saying, hey, I need a little bit more attention in this matter. You know what I mean? Or I need you to pay a little bit more attention to that. If you are willing, you're right, because you know it's impacting your relationship, you are more likely to look at it. She'll see something like jujitsu and she'll say, well, you know what, when Danny gets back, he's got a clear head. You know, he's less aggressive. He probably does drink a little bit less. Like there was a benefit to there. She'll let that slide. But if Danny's dipping too much into the Casamigas and he's had one too many.
I love it, dude.
He's had one too many Pacificos. Hey, Danny, we need, you know, that is that's impacting me, right? And that's the beauty of these human relationships. Is they can drive us to change.
And I think that's how, as a man, you can start to create this understanding of yourself and then create conversations with not only yourself, right? Because that's what I was telling my friend today is like, you know, I think that we're, you know, him and I are going to get together and we're going to talk a little bit about it, because I really was it intrigued my mind to have somebody go, hey, I need your help to stay focused on this thing.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm like, well, you are a very, very, very driven businessman.
Yeah.
Who puts business first.
Right.
Like business first.
Yeah.
Like if it comes to training or business wins.
Right.
If it comes to training or family wins.
Right.
If it comes to training or whatever input, whatever, that always wins.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder how him and I are going to have that conversation where it's like, okay, well, tell me what's more important right now.
Yeah.
Because you cannot watch YouTube and learn jiu-jitsu.
Right.
You cannot find somebody to go drill with you without taking a class
Yeah.
and learn jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, you need to take the class that's given, and that's the beauty of it.
So
There's the classes are available.
Yeah.
Adjust your schedule around the classes available.
Yeah, I think the question I like is like, because I find that like, one, you telling him may not be the right approach, right? You saying, hey, what's this? Frame it as, what are you willing to sacrifice to become the jiu-jitsu player
Yeah.
that you want to be?
Right.
What are you willing to sacrifice?
Yeah. What do you
And can you dedicate yourself to that sacrifice?
Yeah.
Perhaps it's one less zero in your bank account, one less comma.
But you know, like here's the other part about that is we live in Utah and it's about to be summertime, right?
Yeah.
And what do everybody do in the summertime? They go hiking.
You get outside.
They go running. You don't need another person to go hiking or running.
Right.
Right. You can do those on your own.
Right.
And you don't need an academy to have that available. You can just go on the trail and start it, right?
Sure.
And like I was saying before, like in the academy, I need other people to be there to give me a partner to learn this art, right?
Yeah.
And then round that away into your relationships now.
Yeah.
You need a willing partner to create this life that you're looking for.
Oh, yeah.
I need a willing partner. Like I need Misty to be a willing partner to create the life and to focus on each other. She focuses on her, I focus on myself. And then we remove distractions to get the life that we're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
And I think like as young men, when you talk to young men, like, man, they are like squirrels.
Oh,
Boom,
yeah.
there's something over there. Boom, there's something over there. Boom, there's something over there. And I think that's part of life.
I think you're absolutely right. But I also think practice, like when you're young, you're practicing for the rest of your life. The way you show up for homework, the way you show up for school, that's dictating those patterns throughout the rest of the course of your life.
Sure.
Right? Like if you're, and this was me, if you're blowing off class, if you're forgetting to turn in assignments, like what is that? How does that sure as hell manifests in my work schedule?
Yeah.
I'm always like last minute to get a project done. Like, I get it done and I do high quality work, but like I didn't practice being a good student to begin with, right? Like our brains are so much more malleable when we're younger. We're in the record phase of our brain from, infancy to 28 years old. That's where we're recording all of our habits. It's so much easier, right? To pick up a new sport, to learn a new language. When we get older, that 28 plus, our brains are a little harder, right?
You got like a little more leathered around.
Yeah. We have some wisdom. We have some great wisdom we've learned from our lessons, but it takes, that's why there's that saying that you can't teach an old dog.
It's so true.
New tricks. And I don't believe in that saying. Like I do believe you can always learn something new, but you have to be willing. Yeah. You have to be willing.
We're proof that you can learn new skills, right? Putting an effort into things that you have to have an enjoyment and a want for those things, right? Yeah. And it is funny. It is true. Like it is 100% true. Like as you get older, you start to learn how to prioritize and to remove things and to feel like you're okay in your own self, right? Like you're okay in your own skin, right? Because I think, like we talked about in reinvention, you change. There's so many times that you change your life, and you change the direction of how things are going to go. And man, like this last week has been crazy for me because like things have changed completely for me and my path and my direction. And it started with like, what's my focus? What is my priorities in life, right? And one of them is to experience like new things. And it just happened that a bid came out for Hawaii.
Oh, nice.
For me to put in for a job in Hawaii. and they're hiring 5 people, and there's move money attached to it. There's a big pay raise attached to it, right?
Don't do it.
And Misty and I talked about it, and it was like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I would be mad. My plan was to retire in 2 years, right?
Yeah.
It was 100% to retire in 2026. But then, you look at the numbers, and Misty and I are like, holy crap, this could happen. We could change. It would drastically change her and I's life if I could do 3 or 4 years, in this environment.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of putting myself out there.
Yeah.
Calling some people, like doing some research, and then just applying for the job, right? And so we did decide to apply for the job.
Nice.
And who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
We've always said, like, if it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen.
Dude, that's the beauty of the universe, man. I go back to the book, The Alchemist, all the time.
Yeah.
You got to follow those signs and those omens, right? And like, that would be... I'd love to, like, we'll move the podcast to Hawaii.
I know,
right?
dude, it's insane. Yeah, so it was a it's been kind of like her and I just talking about it, like deciding, like, is this something that we can do? Is this something that we would do?
Right.
So in November we're heading out to Hawaii for I think 8 days. We're gonna go and see, and by then we'll know. Yeah. We'll know by then if we're gonna be moving, but it could literally happen. I mean, it could happen before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Her and I are living in Hawaii.
Wow.
Which is insane.
That is insane.
Yeah. And so I told Mike yesterday, and I mean, like, just even telling Mike, like, gave me this, like, feeling of, like, no, it's not the right thing to do, because the academy and my friends here are so important to me. But luckily, like Mike has always said, the benefit of our academy and what we have is that I could go there tomorrow and train with Rylan, or Luis Chief Lamau, and they know who I am, and they'll welcome me into the academy, and I'll have instant friends. Out there, and my friends, and other people are going to be like, hey, I want to go. I'm going to follow, and I'm going to hang out with you out there, as opposed to, like, not knowing.
Right.
Not knowing. And that's what I think about, like, when you prioritize and when you do, remove distraction, because the things that, like, stuck in my head a lot were, I don't want to be a supervisor.
Oh yeah.
I want to control traffic, but I'm getting to the age where I can't go to a facility, to a higher level facility as a controller, because I'd have to go through the training program again, and I'm too old for that stuff. But I could go and be a supervisor. Putting ourselves in that environment would be a huge learning lesson for Misty and I.
Yeah.
But we're at this stage in our life where we could. And if it doesn't work, if all said and doesn't work, I have my house in Heber.
Yeah.
I have my friends in Heber.
Yeah.
And we can come back in 2 years and I can retire.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I'm not forced to stay there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And what a cool opportunity for growth, right? Like, sometimes you have to chase those opportunities for growth, because to be honest, yes, you got a lot of things going here and you'll continue to progress in jiu-jitsu. But, like, when you talk about the growth of you and Misty as your relationship, like, where is that growing to? Yeah. Right. The next phase of growth for you is post-retirement. You know what I mean? Like, that's huge. That's gotta be that's got to be a big rock in your terrarium of life, right? Your relationship, and that's growth. So like, super stoked that you put yourself out there, dude. And Hawaii, like, that would be cool. Do you know, like, which particular island, or
Oahu? So I would work at Honolulu. Is that right? Honolulu's in Oahu.
I don't know.
I think that's where it is. And so it's crazy because, like, most of our friends in Park City either have places in Hawaii or, like, no. So I was kind of, like, telling people that, and they were like, oh, I know my place is over here, luckily I mean, if you know Park City, you know that they've got multiple places. So my house is here, my friend's house is here, and we would be close to, so if we live close to Honolulu, to the airport, then we would live close to Ryland's, which is Max Holloway's
Oh, cool.
jiu-jitsu coach. And, and Ryland's great, and he's really cool. He's always been really cool to me. He'll be out here in July, and I'm excited to like tell him that, there's a possibility that we'll be out there hanging out with him. And that's what Mike said. Mike was like, I don't want you to go, but that's selfish reasons, and I want you to go so that I can go out there and visit you. And so it was crazy. It was a crazy week. It was a crazy week finding out about it, and then kind of putting the things into place, and then
that's good.
Applying for it.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, dude, it's insane.
It's so awesome.
Yeah,
man. On that note, what do we got going on?
So
besides moving to Hawaii, maybe.
Check this out.
Yeah,
I got this the other day. So this is a Stay Salty element. If you guys haven't done elements, pretty good. They're salt-based drinks, but it is in line with our idea of taking the bus out and selling some drinks out of our bus, promoting the podcast.
Oh, nice.
Promoting ourselves, Tyler and I going out there, and this is exactly what my idea was, and it's coming to fruition. But this is kind of what we'll be out there selling. It's a sparkling water with salt. It's in Mexico. It's called a suero, and it's good for hangovers, good for the flu, good for colds, and it's mineral water, salt, and you go and hang out, you put them together, and it's supposed to make you feel better. So gonna go out and take the bus out and sell some of those. I think you and I'll be out there on a Saturday and tell people where we're gonna be at.
All right.
We have Mother's Day coming up.
Mother's Day
this weekend,
Sunday.
By the time
this episode will be out Friday.
This episode will be out Friday. So Sunday will be Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of our listeners out there. And Misty said, probably not going to get very much fanfare for this, but she's like, hey, what are you going to buy me for Mother's Day? And I was like, you're not my mom. Talk to the boys. I said, I have a mom. And my kids think that is the funniest thing when I tell her that, because they think that is so funny, but
that's funny.
It's not true. I usually end up getting her something, but they think that is so funny when they giggle so hard when I tell her, no, you're not my mom. I'm not buying you nothing, What will you be able to see your mom?
I think my mom's planning on coming out. She called me and said, hey, everything that's gone on, I kind of need to be a mom. Can I come out and be a mom? And I'm like, I won't say no.
Good. When's she coming out?
I think she's planning on being out here Friday. So
oh, cool. Hopefully I'll be able to see her.
Yeah.
And come over and give her a hug.
Yeah. We haven't made confirmed solid plans, but we were talking about it last week, and I said, I moved in. I feel like I got some place for you to be. So
cool.
Yeah.
My mom went to see her mom.
Oh yeah.
So I don't get to see my mom.
Yeah. That's good.
Her mom is old, and she's a great. My mom's mom is she's what they would call my grandmother, so my godmother.
Okay.
So in the Catholic Church, you get baptized and you get godparents. So my grandma and grandpa and my mom's mom and dad are my godparents.
Okay.
And in the that's kind of like puts you in the prince category, because not everybody gets to be your grandparents' godson. So my siblings would always tease me that I was the chosen child.
The chosen one. That's too funny.
So so Misty's out of town this weekend, so that'll be good. I'll be bacheloring it this weekend. So I hate being by myself at the house, so I'll probably just train a bunch and work on my bus a little bit.
Yeah,
you'll have your mom here and the kids here.
Potentially. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight quarters, so they all show up. My kids will head back probably Sunday.
Oh,
so
sure. Do you have to work?
I do. The rink has been kicking my butt lately.
Yeah,
but I got the work. Got the work.
And then, so let's see here. Coming up in 3 months, man, that big announcement of Anthony.
That's a big one.
That was a huge one.
I mean, that alone is probably worth the price of admission.
Man. So Anthony Pagano, Instagram, original kid. I'll put that on there for when we release this. He got a fight. He agreed to a fight, to a jiu-jitsu fight. And as soon as we announced it, I mean, I got so many people like, what? He's fighting? I don't think he had competed since maybe blue belt or purple belt. And I mean, he was a high level wrestler in high school, a high level jiu-jitsu guy, black belt that is by far the toughest and the biggest monster I've ever rolled with.
Yeah.
And when he decides to go, I think, please don't rip my arm off. Please don't rip my head off. So, yeah, so that was a huge announcement. That was so fun to get that going on. And we have that at July 19th, 20th, and 21st. And then, man, train hard and try to limit the distractions, try to keep growing and keep seeing where things are going with life. And grateful for sharing your story with us.
Yeah.
Sharing that. Sharing that episode was cool. I appreciate that. I appreciate you putting it out there. We weren't sure if we were going to put it out there, but I'm really glad that you did, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think at the end it was the right thing to do. You know, you can't. I think we're here to be honest, to be genuine, and you have to. Sometimes you have to share that you've succumbed to the vices. Like, by no means are we perfect. By no means are we perfect, right? We're men just like anyone else. I think the reason we do this is because we want to create a common unity. We want to share our voice and just be like, it's okay to be. It's okay to just be.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a wreck sometimes. It's okay to be a mess. It's okay to look for help. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to, to feel. And so that comes with being a little bit vulnerable and just putting yourself out there and truly sharing your story. Good. You guys have seen it all, man. You guys have seen it all. I've not very much I haven't shared with this group here. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, on that note, man, cheers. Thank you for all the listeners. Feel free to check us out on the socials, and welcome to the new podcast home. Hopefully you enjoy it.
Thanks for sharing time with us.
Yeah, cheers.
See you guys.
Rise up, no turning back.